Why, hello. It's nice to see you here so late. It's midnight. Happy Monday to you. I'll give a few minutes for people to come in. I wanted to talk about this because it's really kind of eating at me. Anywho, it's upsetting listening to all of this stuff. I don't know how to say it without being insensitive. It's upsetting to listen to the details of what these girls are alleging happened. And I'm not saying that they didn't. Hi, Tina. I'm not saying that they didn't go through what they went through at all, not at all. But I'm just kind of thinking on my own, what would I want? Like, what would if I was one of his victims? What would I want? Like, what would I expect for justice? Now that it's 30 years later, like how much can they expect? I mean, the fact that the district attorney picked it up, I think is a good thing. I think that sends a strong message in itself because they have to have enough proof to feel like they have something to prosecute. Thank you, Jameson. Listening to the interviews from Jared Leasik's sister and his cousin, what they're alleging is disturbing. It's disturbing, and it's, hey, Thumb Thug, and it's raw. Hi, Papa Midnight. Hey, Irvin. I didn't realize you changed your name. We're just talking about Jared. I'm just thinking, what would justice be? Because she's not looking for monetary damages. She's not going civil. She's going criminal. And she said she just wants justice. And I'm just thinking, what what would justice be at this point, 30 years later? What would justice be? If I was in her shoes, what would I expect? What would you guys expect? Hey, Navigator. I think, I can talk about it from a personal level because I had my own tragedy as a kid that, honest to God, I've never told anyone. So you guys would be the first people that I've ever actually said that to. But and it was, well, 30 years ago. So I can easily put myself in their shoes. Um and as much disgust as I feel towards that person, I'm not sure what I would expect. We're talking about Jared from AWP, and I was just listening to there was an interview that his cousin did and his sister did. And it's just the allegations are disturbing. And I say allegations only because it hasn't gone through court yet. And I don't want to be held responsible for his reputation being damaged. But I think that that's pretty much happened already. Um, what do you guys think? What do you think would be fair at this point? I mean, now that he's a grown man, he's married, he has children. He does have, a history of some questionable behavior that's on record. I mean, what would be fair at this point? Because if I was in her shoes, I'm not sure what I would expect. I'm not sure that, I mean, I know the statute of limitations has been removed in the area that she's taking him to court in, so that shouldn't come into play. But at the same time, what's fair? Like what is fair? Should he go away? for a long, long time. I mean, my understanding is each count only holds 6.5 years, which is disgusting to me. It's disgusting to me because if what they're alleging truly happened, he took something that they can never get back. They can never get back. Hey, Sarah. And it's just gross. Okay, so what are the allegations? I'm familiar with him, but not with any of the allegations. So he's being accused by family members, his sister and his cousin, of SA when they were young. They were 7 years old to 9 years old, and he's claiming he was 12, but the math doesn't add up. The math says he was 17. So a 17-year-old and a 9-year-old. I mean, that's sick. It's sick. Hey, Kate. For me, Kate, I'll drop the link for you if you want to come up. I don't know. And for me, I don't know. I want to say, I want to nail him to the, I obviously would want to see some kind of punishment, but I'm not sure what punishment that would be. I mean, what happened to me happened so long ago, and I've never, ever, ever, ever talked about it because as a kid, you don't know that it's wrong because you trust adults. Adults only do what is right. When you're a kid, you just completely expect whatever an adult tells you to do. Okay, that's the right thing to do, and you do it. And a lot of times you don't realize, hey, Kate, you don't realize until you're older that, oh shit, that shouldn't have happened. Like that was wrong. Like they were wrong. And by that point, that's when, shame comes in and you're not sure, like, do I say something now? Is it worth saying something now?
Especially if your whole family is like kind of on his side. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like even she said like her own mom like forgave him and hugged him and was okay with it. Like that would upset me so bad.
If my mother did that, I would be so pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, and he acts like it's okay. He lied about his age. He had his sister come to his home. How dare him? Her children has been denied her family. It's all sickening. I'm angry and he better pay fully. Yeah, Tina, I understand. I understand what you're saying. It's just been weighing on my mind. Like I said, I had my own situation as a kid, and it's scary because when you're younger, you depend on adults, and what they say is right. They're always right. You look up to adults, and it sucks that you don't realize like what happened was wrong, and it's usually when you're an adult. And that's the hardest time to talk. I mean, when you're younger, you're so innocent, and that's what's sad about it, is he stole their innocence from them. That changes everything in someone's life. It truly does. It changes how you're intimate with your partner, when you're intimate. It's, I mean, it changes everything.
Yeah.
I mean, let's do a poll. If you or someone has been in this situation, put a 1. If not, put a 2. I'll be shocked if there's any 2s because someone knows someone that it happened to or it happened to them. Because it's that thing that nobody really talks about. And I get it.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, I can understand, it's something that like, I feel like a lot of times, especially even when you're an adult, like there's been some guys that I've run into that like, if you're at a workplace and then a guy is kind of like, weird with you and you kind of feel like you question it and you're like, maybe I'm just being crazy. And because they're like a higher, I can't imagine like a kid, you know what I mean? Like not even knowing how to navigate that, because even as an adult, it's hard to navigate a situation like that,
Well, and it changes you as a person. So when you're a parent, you become that parent that you don't want to leave your kids with anyone because you don't know who you can trust. Like my kids have never had an outside babysitter ever. in their entire lives. I've never, ever hired
Same.
a side babysitter. It's always been someone I know really, really well. Hi, Tia.
Hey, Tia.
And, you know, and I've never explained to them like why that would be. But I'm very honest with them. And I actually brought them both into my room and explained to them like this whole situation because they've seen me watch these guys for years. I've been watching them for years. I was watching Jared when he was taking his daughter Kiki out and they would just go get sunglasses and wallets and cell phones out of lakes. So my kids knew, you know, they know.
Did you
And
see
then
that video of him, like consoling that lady and I guess like the family, and he kept putting his hands on their legs? It made me uncomfortable
yeah,
watching it. Like he was trying to
yeah.
like sympathize with them and like console them, but he kept touching their legs. Like it's one thing to put your arm around somebody or give them a hug, but like something about putting your hands on the legs just give me like it just feels creepy. Like it would make me
Hmm.
uncomfortable if somebody was doing that.
Right. Yep. Yeah. What do you think would be fair to happen to him, Kate? What do you think he deserves? Sorry, you just muted and I asked you a question.
Um, I think he should, obviously, you know, do time like do the time for it. And I think if he plans to be a public figure, he has done this in his life to multiple people. I think he needs to be on like a sex offender list or something so that the public is aware of this. Like
Hmm.
it's something that shouldn't be hidden, because I mean he could have changed his life and reformed himself, but still every people have the right to know who they're around or who their kids are around or who is you know and being a public figure, I imagine that
Hmm.
he's probably around a lot of people who like idolize him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel
I
like
had
that is
family watch my
definitely.
kids too. Sorry, go
Yeah, I've
ahead.
only ever had family watch my son, but I've never like had a babysitter like watch my kid.
Tina said it changes us so much. Exactly. My kids never had a babysitter either. I take care of my 2-year-old grandson. He won't go to daycare unless I'm dead. It's scary. It's scary. In my town itself, there was a man that was arrested, a grandpa was arrested because he tried to develop pictures of his granddaughter, who was a baby. And in the Photoshop called the police when they developed the pictures because they were disgusting. But it's so hard
That's
because you
crazy.
just like, I mean, I've watched Jared change over the years where he went from really friendly, happy, just a go lucky kind of guy where he was cleaning up lakes and ponds to like this big guy who's in front of the camera now. And I noticed that he pulled back quite a bit over the last few months. I thought it was because he even said himself, I'm just an unlikable guy on camera. And he does. Like I said to you on your live the other night, he does things that are so questionable. I mean, the some of the things that he does, I mean, he is trying to show compassion to families after they find the victim and they're hugging and saying, I'm sorry, I know this isn't the ending you wanted. And then it goes straight away into make sure you like, subscribe, and thumbs up this video. And it's so unsympathetic, you know? And he wasn't always like that. He used to be like a really happy go lucky kind of guy, but
And his like biography where like he talks about like all the stuff that he got into, he totally buttered that up, like talking about his the I mean not the stock stuff. Like somebody sent me, you can like look at old websites, and they sent me like his old website. He tried to make it like he just profiled stocks, he didn't recommend them. And if you actually like look at it, he heavily recommended it. Like this is how many people are participating, it's happening at this time of day. And what he would do is
mm-hmm.
like recommend these stocks to people so that imagine, you do it a couple times and people have a good outcome, right?
Right. Right.
And then you gain a bunch of followers because they're like, oh, hey, this guy's good at this, and then they would send, a bunch of people to go buy this particular stock, and then a bunch would buy it, and then he would sell and, like make money on it because all those people would buy in and it would, raise the price, and then he would sell, and then a lot of these people would lose all their money. Like, people go all in on that, and families would lose their, like, I think they made a lot of money on it, him and his brother. And
That's the
just how
dumb.
he explained it is not how it is at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, he's definitely become about money. I mean, there's no doubt about that. He's definitely become about the money.
I was
But
just about to say that to you. You took the words out of my mouth, that he
yeah,
gives me the used car salesman type feel. Yep.
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I guess that's the kind of guy he's, turned into. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen how it can happen to creators too, where they end up showing one side initially, and then they end up being a completely different person when their numbers go up and subscribers start coming in, and then they get members, and
Yep.
people change. It changes you. YouTube can change you, and not always for the good.
Yep.
He's a used
Exactly.
car salesman type. That's been my vibe of late with him. I liked
Mm-hmm.
them all long ago when Sam was with them. Yeah, I used to watch him when Sam was with them too.
I'm glad that, like,
He,
I know
exactly.
he's pretty, what do you call that? Like, he litigious. Am I saying that right? Where he likes, and I'm glad that so many people aren't afraid to stand up and talk about this. And I know he's not charged, or he's not convicted in the court of law yet, but for him to even be indicted,
Mm-hmm.
They have to have some evidence that they feel is pretty damning. And
Exactly.
um, I just, and if those emails are real, which I tend to believe they are, but obviously, like, we're gonna have to say it like that, but he just gaslights that poor woman so much and makes it like it was because of their religion and because of their family, and kind of like groups himself in with the cousins, so it's like a group of people and not just him, and like doesn't take
Yeah,
any
that's
responsibility.
very unsympathetic, and it was
Yeah.
gaslighting at its finest.
Yep.
Levin Light said he gained the trust of people to get into their pockets, using people to rise to the top. He sure did. He sure did. Hi, Lindy. Yes. Yeah, he sure did. I think that, this is going to be his downfall. I really do. I think it's going to be a huge, it's going to be a huge loss. If anything, I don't know. I can't see him walking away from AWP. I've seen people who aren't too familiar with how their team was built, but the reality is I don't see him walking away and being like, "Here, Doug, take this. Take it over." I just don't see him doing that. I could
Yeah,
see
I mean,
him closing
maybe
down.
like off camera and making it look like Doug, you know what I mean? But I feel like even if he does walk away, there's still going to be that like lingering, like, because he says, I don't want to believe this, but it sounds
Mhm,
like he's told his crew that, something like this could have come out and they know, but I don't know how he spun it to them. You know what
mhm.
I mean? But
Yeah.
it'll
Well,
be difficult
to
to see that they're still standing by him.
well,
If
did you listen to Web Sleuths last night by any chance?
I heard that, yeah, Anthony, the guy Anthony talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
yeah,
I actually
he
had
did
watched the
sound.
episode
It
again.
sounded like he spun it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he wanted to I think he wanted to like do the right thing by them and be a
Hmm.
bro and be like, yeah, he told me, but he didn't really tell me what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if someone came to me and said, you may see something about me in the news, um, about a essay allegation. I'm gonna probably be like, who, what, where, when. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna. I don't know. Is it typical? Maybe it's different with guys, and they just brush stuff under the rug. And maybe he was like, "Oh, okay," and let it go. But I don't. I don't. I think most people would probably have more questions.
Yeah. So, like, the question is, even, well, yeah, he says in those emails, Lynn, like, I hide nothing from my office. They can see these emails, blah blah blah. So he claims that the people in his workspace know. But here's the thing, too: if he is convicted of this, like, where do we? How do you still? If they still stay with AWP, how
How do you recover from that?
one, do you recover from that, and two, how can you respect people knowing this guy did this and still, like,
Mm-hmm.
being part of that? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I feel like if I found that out, I'd be like, I don't want nothing to do with this. You know what I mean?
I think at the end of the day, I think that because each count only has 6 years, I mean, unless more victims come out, I don't. I mean, let's say it was 2 counts per person. I mean, you're looking at 24 years as of right now.
Yeah. Well, so far it's only the 2 counts. I don't know if they're gonna charge, like, if the sister's gonna.
Oh, each count is 25 years.
I thought it was 6, but, or at least the minimum is 6.
Oh, okay. So maybe it's 6 to 25. That's kind of a
I
stretch.
don't know.
Hmm.
But I guess maybe it's based on, like, how, bad it is. And I feel like I have even less sympathy for him hearing that he was a victim too, because then how it feels. Like, why would you do that? I don't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at that age, he's definitely smart enough to know that that's wrong
Mm-hmm.
and not to do that. So it feels even worse that, he had that happen to him and still did that. I don't know. I know some people, I feel like, do have sympathy for that, but
I don't know. It's
that gives me less sympathy for him.
you have a good point though. I mean, at 17 years old, if it was done to you, you know that that wasn't something that should have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, and I understand, what he was saying as far as, it's something that's been going on for generations. But you're right. At 17 years old, you know that what happened to you was wrong. So to do it to someone else, I
At
mean,
17 years old, I definitely knew that.
it's not like when you find two little kids playing with each other in a room and you're like, oh, no, 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 we don't do that. It's not
Yeah.
like that.
No,
At 17, you have more clarity, right from wrong.
for sure. So it just, that rubs me the wrong way really bad, because it's like, he definitely was old enough to.
25 years to life on each count. Wow. Wow. Well, that makes me feel better, to be honest with you. It makes me feel better because I thought it was 6 years per count. But it's so hard because, I mean, good for them for being able to come out, even though it is, 30 years later. It's not something that you ever want to talk about with anyone. It's so awkward and uncomfortable, and to have to relive it and talk about it. I mean, I think she's probably getting stronger because she said she started out with like a anonymous group online and then she went into Reddit. So she was kind of building up her skin because people did come at her and say some pretty terrible things. And, I think she's getting herself the strength to be in court and to have to face him if she needs to, which is pretty amazing, really. I honestly, if someone asked me if I could do it, I don't know if I could. I really don't. I don't think I'd want to relive that.
Yeah.
And that's just me. But it's I think it's hard to say because I think I think the person that affected my life is probably dead now. And had I been able to say something sooner, like when I realized, I probably could have stopped it from happening to someone else. But I'll
Yeah.
never know because I'll never know. He's probably dead.
Yeah.
Damage control's in full swing. I did read somewhere that they were deleting comments over on their page. Oh, Lynn asked you a question, Kate.
I think a lot of the generational stuff is like people are like, oh, well, like unhappy people are like, do you know what I mean? Like if you're unhappy, you do want like hurt people kind of thing. And it's like, well, if it could be done to me, then I can do it too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I feel like that's what makes it like a generational thing where like people are like, oh, well, it happened to me, so I can do it type deal. And it like, even though you know that it's wrong, like there's no way in his mind at 17 years old did he think that's okay to do to a 9-year-old. Like, no way.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
mean, I just don't see an excuse for like, even though it happened to him, I just can't see an excuse for him to do that to his sister and his cousin at 9 years old, and he's 17 when he knows damn well, like, there's no way at 17 you didn't know that
Right.
that's wrong.
Right. Do you think he's going to be found guilty based on what? I mean, the evidence that she has this in
I
writing.
feel like there's probably more evidence too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's witnesses.
Right.
They probably were able to subpoena all the people he named and said, this is who I told. And then, they have to testify under oath.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sure people probably have testified saying, yeah, he came to me and told me and apologized for it or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It was that half-assed apology is what really rubbed me the wrong way. It was kind of like, whoops, I messed up. Sorry.
He blamed it on, he was like, I don't know if I should blame it on Mormonism or the family. Like, blame it on yourself, dude. Like, what are you
Take
talking
some
about?
responsibility.
Yeah. Like, it was gaslighting. It was almost like he was like, get over it. It happened to everybody in the family. It's just the way it is. And that's that.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounded like. And it's really sad that their families, because they both said the same thing, they pretty much had to walk away from their families because of it. That pisses me off because it's the worst thing to have to live with. And then to not have support, the support of your family, your mother, like that sickens me.
Yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with like, when people are in religious communities and like I've
Like,
heard a lot about, I don't know much about LDS, but I've heard like a lot of things where like they're very like, you want to look a certain way and be respected in a certain way and things like that, and you know probably to them,
mm-hmm.
it embarrass them or
I
it
think
shame
they
them.
brush a lot of things under the rug, or they keep it within the church, or
Yeah.
they keep it, within the family, I guess you could say.
Don't get me wrong, I'm Catholic, and I'll say some of the
Yeah,
creepiest
me
people
too.
come from Catholicism, and
Mm-hmm.
we ain't no better, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
I do think a lot of this stuff falls back on like religion and things too, all
Yeah.
religion.
No, it does. It does. I mean, I I hope he saves some of that money. That's what I gotta say about that. He's gonna have a lot of attorney fees. A lot of attorney fees, and attorneys are not cheap.
Yeah, yeah, with the Duggars
Mm-hmm.
and Valo's LDS too. And please, if anyone is LDS, don't get offended by it. But
Yeah,
I
that's true. They
like
had that under the rug for a long time.
I just I guess you don't hear all the great stories, so it's hard not to judge because you hear all these like crime stories with these, you know,
Mhm.
crazy things happening. I mean, the same thing happens in every religion too. You know what I mean? But like between the Vallow case, this and sorry, what was the Duggars? They're LDS. Or is the Duggars LDS?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't
I'm
know.
kind of curious now.
They're I know that
I
their
know they're
religion,
religious.
right. And I know they were able to tuck this dirty secret away for quite a while.
They're quiverful. What is that? A
A
couple who was
couple who is
ex-LDS.
ex LDS. If anyone wants their name, let me know. Oh boy. No, they aren't
Oh,
LDS.
okay.
Hmm.
So, but they are definitely religious. I know that.
Yeah. I feel bad for them, but I think that
They're
the
independent
victims are.
Baptist.
Oh, okay. I think right now that the victims are pissed. Like, I think they went through their stages of like guilt and shame and having to live with it for all these years to now they're just pissed. Especially when you see the perpetrator, allegedly, in the limelight being hailed as this big hero. That's got to sting.
Yep.
I don't know what FLDS is.
There's also FLDS. What's that?
Hmm.
Type in quiverful. Let me see.
They are brave.
Quiverful movement.
Like
It's
I
a
said, I don't think I
Christian.
could do it.
It's a Christian religious movement that has grown among conservative Christians in recent years. Quiverful is a reference to Psalm 127, like arrows in the hands of a warrior are sons born in one's youth. It's like a movement.
Hmm.
It's a movement like based off of religion, I guess.
You know, let me just say this. I was trying to think like I was trying to think what would his wife be thinking right now? And I can tell you that back before they were like super, popular and had millions of subscribers, I had emailed them like directly to the AWP like email. His wife responded to me. So that every time that I had emailed them, she responded to me. So
Oh,
that
really?
tells me after listening to the interviews tonight, the cousin sent her email to the AWP email. So his wife had to have seen that. I wouldn't be surprised if she saw it first. And I can't imagine being in her shoes
That's a good point.
because I had emailed them several times because I had ordered a bunch of stuff from them and I was a paid member,
Yeah.
and
Well, I paid for like a month, but then I didn't. Yeah. Sister wives are Mormon.
hmm. Yeah, well, Kate, you want to hear something? It's not funny, but it is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So I was explaining all of this to my kids last night. My 15-year-old, my daughter was like, "Oh, so did he have like a lot of wives?" I'm like, "No, he didn't have a lot of wives." And my 15-year-old's like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "What do you mean you can't do that?" He's like, "You can't have more than one wife." And we're like, "Have you ever heard of polygamy?" He's like, "No." I go, "You don't know what a polygamist is?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "How does he not know this at 15 years old? I've sheltered him. I have sheltered him." I'm like, "There are some places that's legal." And he was like, "No, it's not."
That's like, what was that guy in the Tiger King show? He had a bunch of wives, didn't he? The guy who had all the like little tigers and stuff that he would
I don't remember. I watched that too, but I don't remember.
Oh, I swear, like there was a guy in there who had a bunch of wives. I can't think of his name. I wonder
No, it's
what.
not a bad thing. He's
No, it's
definitely
not.
sheltered. He's definitely
That's
sheltered.
bad
He's
that he
like,
doesn't.
that can't happen. I'm like, oh yes it can. He's like, that's not real. Oh yes it is. Not in this house. It's not real, but it's real.
Yeah.
I don't know. I pray for them though. I really do. I hope that they get the justice that they want. You know, they were really clear. They're not going after money. They don't care about the money.
Oh, you could like hear it in their voice. Like you can tell they really just like they know that he's in a position of power that if he wanted to, he could probably take advantage of people with and they like I said, they feel like it should be known like he should be registered or something or that it should be known so that people know, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I can't say his name. Ikmadel actually
No.
offered to help them with legal fees, and she said she didn't need them right now, so that's good.
Yeah.
And it is because it's the state going after them, not her personally.
Yeah.
So it's the
Oh, so she doesn't really need to get like
not yet. Not unless she wanted to go civil. If she wanted to go civil and go after his money, she would need attorneys. But what she did is she called the district attorney and gave him the details, and he said he would get back to her. And she said, I think you listened to the same interview I did. She basically said she was really surprised when they called back and said, yeah, we believe you have a case.
yeah.
In February, when they spoke in the email, the statute of limitations had not changed. He felt comfortable speaking about it, thinking he could not be prosecuted. Ooh, that makes perfect sense. That
I
makes
think
perfect
I
sense.
think the statute of limitations got changed in 2013, but he just didn't know. Like
Hmm.
cuz usually there is a statute of limitations, but Utah is just one of the and maybe cuz he lives in Oregon that he thinks late July and early August and I mean,
Do
I
you believe
thought
in castration?
hell yeah. I think
Yeah.
yeah, hell yeah. I mean, I don't I like it. I don't think it'll like I mean it'll stop certain things, but it doesn't necessarily
Right. It
mean
doesn't
it'll
change
stop
the mind.
others. They need to make like a new coliseum and let these people like fight to the death or something. I'm
Mm-hmm.
joking, but not. I don't know. I mean, it's
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out, though, for sure.
yeah. If it is, yeah. I don't know. Like from what I looked up, I don't know if it's different in Oregon or whatever, but I looked up Utah Hold on, I'll show you. Statute of limitations for S sexual crimes, and hold on.
You know, thinking of it now, I think if I ever approached my father and was like, this happened to me and gave all these details, my father believes in like being a vigilante. I don't think that he would be like, okay, let's seek a lawyer. I think he would go take care of it himself.
Yeah,
That's how my dad is. I
I
really do
think
believe it.
a lot of people probably feel that way. You know what I mean? I would probably want to go handle it myself if I heard someone did something to my kid.
He did that in Vegas too. Is it because the statute of limitations hasn't changed there? Is that why he can't be charged for that?
Probably. Share my screen real quick, Jen.
Okay.
So this is what I found. In 2013, the Utah legislature removed the statute of limitations for most serious sex crimes, allowing time for victims to come forward when they are ready, not when the state says they should be. Victims of sex crimes often hesitate to come forward for many reasons, including the fear of victim blaming, feelings of guilt or shame, or being worried about negative consequences for themselves or their families. It can take years, even decades, for victims to find the charge to come forward. But without the limits of when they can report the crime to police, victims can now feel less pressure to report something they are not ready to talk about. All right, so it says what particular ones too. Here we go. According to UtahCriminalLaw.net, 19 first and second degree felony crimes in Utah currently have no statute of limitations. Those crimes include R of a child, object R of a child, forcible sodomy, sodomy on a child, SA of a child, aggravated SA of a child, and aggravated SA. So all those specific crimes don't have a statute of limitations. So somebody was saying to me the other day, oh, well, since it happened in 1991, they would have to go with the 1991 laws, but then, like, maybe charging wise, but if they got rid of the statute of limitations, then it doesn't, they don't have, if there was a statute of limitations in 1991, they don't have to go by that. That's the whole reason why they removed the statute of limitations, if that makes sense. So, like, that's why they are able to come forward on those specific things. 3 crimes: unlawful SA with a minor, SA of a minor, and unlawful SA conduct with a 16 to 17-year-old could be prosecuted as third-degree felonies, so they have to be prosecuted within the 4-year statute of limitations. So that one does have a statute of limitations, but the other ones don't. Trying to see if there's any. In 2017, Utah legislature unanimously passed HB 277, which eliminated the deadline for civil child SA claims, which previously had a 4-year statute of limitations. So I guess civilly they
4
can.
years?
Yeah, for civil.
Oh,
for civil claims, but they lifted that too in 2017, so they can sue civilly if they want.
Kate, can you play a little bit of the interview from the cousin and the sister?
Yeah. Do you want me to fast forward to when the sister got on, or
yeah,
like when they're both on there, so that
yeah.
Is it this one? I think it's this one.
Estoy loco por tocar.
I only accidentally came across this again because of a Facebook ad. It said something about, were you molested in the Mormon church? Click here to see if a lawyer can help you out. And so I just
echoing.
Went down that rabbit hole.
When you got these, when you had like that email exchange, is that kind of what motivated you like to kind of come forward more, because now you had more solid like information as far as admitting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Jessica said, and I completely agree, you need to change your name from cousin to hero. Okay?
Yeah.
Period. Jessica, keep us in line. Period. That's how it is.
Well, I'm not the only hero. She's definitely putting herself out there much more than I even have at this point. So I'd say she's a step above me. She's even let everybody know what her name is. I haven't been able to do that yet.
Absolutely. And there is I'm looking at the chat, and I'm sure Mel will probably share with you.
Jessica is her sister.
His sister. That are kind of there in the market of exploiting things like this. So just kind of being mindful of who you connect and who you contact with. There's going to be people that are going to be talking about you guys in various streams. Just be careful about how you participate in the chat. This is why I was very leery about what to read and what to say, because Mel and myself, we already know how this works in the background. For an
I'm glad she said this.
You have to say less. If that makes sense. So we just want to be mindful of you guys,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's people that sit there all day long digging into you guys instead of really digging into, you know, the alleged person, but really just digging into the victims and accusing them and stuff. The other thing too, and if you can answer, are there other people too potentially that are like victims besides you and the sister?
I think the only reason I feel comfortable saying this is because I've already, unfortunately, in the heat of a moment, already said this in writing somewhere, I believe on Reddit, that yes, there are more of us, but that's their story to tell, and they need to be comfortable with the timing, or if they even decide to go through this.
That's
I reached
crazy.
out to a few when I started this process.
There's
and they
more
decided to
people.
join.
Absolutely. Jared himself alluded, or even said it in the email, that there was families and together, and there was a, you know, it was a very like they had a way to deal with it. Why haven't you dealt with it? Type of kind of shift blaming the victim, if that makes sense.
It 100 makes sense because that is the family dynamic. This does go generations back. I won't go into much detail about that because again, that's all their stories. But I mean, this is generational for sure. So it's been almost to the point where, as angry as I am towards my mother for hugging him and telling her she forgave him, I almost kind of later looking back on it and after going to therapy and discussing it, I can understand why going through that kind of family trauma, that was her immediate knee-jerk reaction, because that's what they're taught to do. That's what we were all taught to do.
There is, you know, and I want to be careful because the chat is bringing this up as well. Do you at all feel like any of this is in relation to the church, to the Mormon church? Have you separated those two? Or personally, I feel like we can't blame the church and allow the church to take responsibility for what a grown man has done. But I'll let you answer that, you know?
I think only in the way of the church has that forgive and forget kind of motto.
Yeah, that does suck that they have that.
You know, realistically, because I'm not.
So they have like a motto that like, if you like repent, that you can be absolved from what like you can walk around and say you're not that if you repent, and then they look at you like you've never done that before type deal. Like if you just confess and say I'm sorry for this and I'm like, you know, I regret it, then they just like erase it,
right,
like it never happened.
LDS. My mother's not LDS. A lot of us weren't, and we weren't, you know, I wasn't brought up in that way whatsoever. As a small kid, I kind of remember going to church with them occasionally, but that's all I remember. So I wasn't brought up that way. It was more just the family dynamic because it did have such a hardcore Mormon background to it.
Was Jared LDS?
At one point in time, yes, I believe. I mean, he had to have been. His father was. You'd be better off asking Chessie about that, being his sister. Again, like I said, I kept very far away from him. Even as a small child, before everything else started happening, he always scared me. He did evil things.
I'm going to drop the link for Jessica if she wants to come up. Completely up to her. That's up to her and her choice. You know?
That gives me the creeps that she says that, like, that he always scared the crap out of her and that he did evil things. Like, you got to be pretty bad for someone to say that about you.
Yep.
You know,
it should be.
And the only reason I mentioned, like I said, I mentioned the church is because it came up in the body of the email in his response, but also it's coming a lot in the comments that people have left. Well, blame this on the Mormon church. I said, listen, you got to be able to separate a lot of this from the person as well. Whew, this is some heavy stuff, you know. How has this all affected you overall in your life making decisions, family? Are you able to share a little bit with us?
I've always had extreme trust issues, understandably. I always, for the longest time, I will not lie, I was always very sad and felt kind of like a pit inside of me as if something was missing because I didn't have that connection with my family. I didn't have that, you know, I wasn't involved in a lot of the things that they did. I wasn't invited to a lot of the things they did. It was pretty much just the typical, hey, we're inviting everybody to the family union. So I fell under that umbrella. So I have a very big disconnect with the family. So I can't answer a whole lot of questions on their behalf, if that makes any sense, because I stayed away from them as much as I could. If I possibly had the choice to not be around them, I didn't.
And you currently don't have any contact with the family, right? It sounds like you've been pretty distant from everyone.
Yeah, no, the last contact I had with them was when I let them all know what my intentions were and that there was a possibility some of them could be brought into it because Derek himself named them in emails.
Absolutely. Yes, for those that are coming in, we had done a live If Mel Broke, the story here about Jared from AWP. He is here on this channel. Thank you. No thanks investigates. Absolutely. Thank you. He had, broken the story here, and essentially it's gone out there, as well as what Jared has done in his past. It's come to light.
Relate as far as the
Just
whole
fast forwarding
like
to
false
for
accusations,
when
like
Jessica,
huge like
Yeah.
people that are considered like celebrities or something, that it's like once they say something, people just like they take their word. It doesn't matter what they do. They can lie. They can do all kinds of stuff, and people don't seem to care because of their like celebrity status. And then when somebody with such a huge following comes after you, I mean, I don't know. I can definitely sympathize with like how horrendous and nasty the internet can be, and just cold and callous and unsympathetic. And just targeting and attacking victims. Just crazy.
Absolutely. All for clicks and views. It does happen. I think I have Jessica here. Jessica, is this you?
Yes, it's me.
I'm not going to make you send me another message. Thank you
So
for doing
Jessica,
that.
I know that voice.
Jessica is
Cool.
Jared's sister.
Shout out to you guys.
Sorry, it took me a long time to try to figure out how to get logged into this thing. I've never done this before.
I figured as much. Jessica,
Oh, sorry, honey.
you're on it. Like you're speaking out. Oops, sorry about that, my daughter. You're speaking out. Like where's your mind at? Where are your thoughts at right now? I didn't hear what you said. Say that again.
This, I was kicked out of my family back at a very young age because of this, because I spoke out and I wouldn't back down from the truth.
Your sound is a little bit in and out, and I'm wondering if I heard what you said. You were kicked out of your family because of this, because you spoke out. Your family is definitely not in support of you guys speaking out. Am I hearing that correctly?
The majority of them know.
Wow. Jessica, are you there?
I think she might have some connection issues.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And that was the question from the super chat. Is the family offering any support at this point? Is there anything you guys can answer to that?
I can't speak for Chessie, to be honest, but I've gotten a little bit. I don't want to name names because I don't want to, again, ruin anything or let anybody know who said what.
Especially if they're targets, you definitely don't want to name anybody's name at this point,
Exactly.
My goodness. Wow.
Yeah, I'm glad that Jessica's supporting you as well, because I think it just adds more to it. Because I was looking at some of the comments, and even though some people were nasty, other people were like, "Wow, like this is like even though what you brought forward was a lot, I thought even that email exchange, but just having somebody else to say like, hey, this happened to me too, I think it's just really brave as well for her to support you, and that she's really public with it, and kind of standing along with you. So it's just more fuel to the fire, I guess, of what's going on here. And I feel like there's more definitely that's going to come out and come from this whole situation.
Absolutely. I think having Jessica there kind of gave that this is actually real, right? That there's things that have happened within this family network and system, and that this isn't somebody just coming out of the woodworks to say all this. I mean, thank you, Jessica, for supporting, right? Like you guys are awesome for being there for each other,
I definitely appreciate her more than she even knows. I guarantee it. She took a lot of weight off of my shoulders because I felt like I was drowning under this for quite some time, and then she jumped up and was my hero, and she backed me up when, again, like I said, I was not even sure if anybody
That's
from
nice
my
she
family was
did.
going to attempt to do that or if they were just going to all be on his
And
side.
that's his sister too. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what it sounds like. Jessica, are you back? Or are you
He
still
killed
I'd love to
animals?
hear from
Holy
you.
crap.
And I just want to say too, with regards to the statute of limitations, from what I found online, I was reading, it says that in 2017, Utah legislature unanimously passed HB 277, which eliminated the deadline for civil child sexual abuse claims, which previously had a 4-year statute of limitations. So that's important too, because I've seen that the whole statute of limitations come up a lot. So it was pretty limited before, and so they just kind of a couple of years ago lifted that up.
Right. And I'm so thankful that they did. More states really need to catch on to that because like I said, most people, there was no way I had completely comprehended what had happened to me by 3 years.
Right.
And I wonder if some of this came from just the religious abuse stuff that was coming out of Utah between the LDS Church and also the institutional places in Utah, right? Because they were doing a lot of treatment centers. Paris Hilton spoke a little bit about that. So there's been a lot of legislation change.
Reading that comment, I am curious if he will come like out and make a statement denying the allegations, or if he's just gonna stay quiet. I feel like I don't know. Like I feel like he's the type of person that would want to get on top of it, but I don't know if he's gonna be able to now. Like it's.
I mean, what do you see at this point when there's emails flying around out there from him admitting what he did?
Yeah.
Just current recently because of that. So, I mean, this is great news. And for those that are wondering, because I go back to that email message, you told this man he needs to go to the police station and say all the wrongdoings that he did. And that's what you want. He needs to serve time behind bars. That is what you want as the victim of this situation. So for those that are asking, well, what does she want? It was pretty black and white written in that message, how I saw it.
Exactly. And I mean, for all I knew, we could have walked in there and they would have just looked at me and been like, why are you bothering me with it? I was willing and prepared to have that outcome, but that was really all I asked for.
Right, right. And that's how I figured. I'm going to drop the link for Jessica one more time. I don't know if she's able to connect in or make it. I mean, she was giving us some information here that I was like, a lot of us don't know all the stuff. I mean, Mel, how are you feeling about all this? Where's your mind at?
I was somewhat surprised when I had heard all this, and I almost feel like it's one of those things, like I've said, and some other people have said, it's kind of coming full circle, I think. And I was just really shocked, just kind of shocked by the whole situation. And even like when I was reading the emails and where he was referring to like this generational stuff, which I know she doesn't want to speak on too much, but it's like some sort of like acceptance or something. It seems like within the families or whatever, year after year. I don't know. It's just shocking that like even where she said her mother kind of just hugged him and forgave him. Like I don't even know how you process that as a kid. You know, it's just your own mother. You know?
Yeah, I think AWP at least needs to make a statement for
hey,
sure.
Jessica, you're back. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I don't know where you lost me.
You were sharing just in general a little bit of I think you said you were kicked out of the family for speaking out. If you want to keep going from there, we'll hear you from there.
Sure, absolutely. I was kicked out of the family at a very young age for speaking out. I don't even know what to even think about that. You know, looking back at it, you know, on it as an adult, because I never would do any of that to my children. I would actually seek the help that they needed. You know, when here a while back, I had gotten an email, or well, through Messenger, I had received some stuff which has been all over social media lately, you know, and that was the text between the hero and Adventures with Purpose. And I was asked, have you heard about this? And I guess this has been going on since the first part of the year. I had not heard about this. And I was recently over this stuff, or at least I thought that I was over my past, and I was starting to move forward. As you'll even see on my Facebook page, I have a picture of me in a camouflage jacket with some cleavage. And I finally was starting to realize how beautiful of a person I was, not only on the inside, but the outside. You know, I was starting to finally believe all the things that people have been telling me about myself, that I was a beautiful person. And I even made a funny comment about it saying, hey, I'm in a camouflage jacket so no one can see me, you know. And then all of a sudden I get this message, and I know that I need to help. I know that I need to help the hero, because I know that the hero wants justice. I know that the hero is hurting because the hero is seeing someone else be called a hero that is the farthest thing from it. And that wasn't fair. That wasn't fair. And it's not fair to others to not have their children protected. It's not fair for the nation now to be calling somebody a hero when their own children could possibly allegedly be at risk. I knew that I had to take it upon myself to take a few steps back. And even though it has pretty much drug me emotionally through the dirt, it has been very hard on me, because like I said, I thought it was something that I was over. I'm obviously not, but I definitely will not stand by and watch other people hurt when justice can possibly be served, when other people can possibly not be abused by the same person.
That makes sense. Love and light. Really okay.
That was being called a hero. They're not the hero. My cousin is the hero. And I am willing, and I still am willing, to put my life at risk. It's been.
I think she cut out again.
Oh, I think she did. Oh my gosh, Jessica. Can you hear me, Jessica? She's in and out. Oh man. Whew.
Yeah, and I want to really hear what she has to say too. It's too bad the connection thing.
Wow. Hero, do you have anything to say so far? I mean, because I know you got to be very careful what you say, but just
I like how
overall,
she called
are
her
you flying out
hero.
and doing okay?
I am. I
Yeah.
it just brings up old memories, and I feel so bad for Jessie because I know what she went through in the family. She was the one who was demonized mostly that kept the rest of us so quiet because we didn't want to be in the same position she was.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Jessica, are you still there? I could drop the link one more time for you if you want to, and if not, maybe you and Mel can, I don't know, connect offline. Oh, she dropped again.
I was wondering too, for Hero, I was wondering, do you believe like the rest of the of AWP knew about this stuff, or?
I won't lie, when I first read that, I thought that's just a typical tactic for him to say, well, everybody knows about this. So that way I wouldn't attempt to try to reach out in case I was trying to cause drama, which was never my intent. I only wanted to speak to him. But after, I think I seen another YouTube video somewhere where an ex AWP employee had came on and said that yes, they knew, but it was dumbed down. And it's exactly the way he admitted everything to my mother. It was a very watered down version.
Yeah, he had come on. I think his name was Kevin. He came on yesterday, and he had said something about like he had mentioned the situation, but like you said, I guess probably watered down, not the real details. And the other thing too, I wanted to ask you because I saw a clip of a video where he mentions, I think when he was 16 or 17, that he had left the country. Do you think it was because of everything that happened?
Honestly, I don't know. I can't speak on that.
Okay. Okay.
I didn't know about all of that until recently when somebody in the family told me the story.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can send you the clip. I just thought it was kind of interesting and kind of weird. And it was right around the time of these things that happened, like right after it looked like he left the country. I don't know.
Wow. When he told you, so basically when he told you in the email that he's got nothing to hide, this is an unfiltered company email, so everybody in the email companies, do you think that was tactic for him to just kind of keep you quiet?
I assumed as much, yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's so interesting. I mean, unless the support emails went everywhere, because it was like AWP support or something, right?
Yeah, I didn't email him at a personal email because I didn't have one for him at that time.
I think that the bravery for you just to write an email and send the email. Tell me, like, you were upset. Anything else that you want to share about where your mind was at the time when you sent it?
I would love to say that any of this was actually bravery, but it was just full on. I was upset. Everything came back to the surface. Everything that I had, like Jessie said, thought I'd
Sounds
moved on from,
genuine to
thought I
me
had
too, Jameson.
pushed down and dealt with, and had just, it just became okay with, like I was supposed to, like everybody else in the family. And then, all of that happened, and it was just, I was upset, and everything over those generations
I mean,
of being upset about that from the moment.
If they're not going after him civilly, then they're not going after him for money.
Right.
Like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, he's rich. Of course they're doing this. They want money. No, they aren't even going after him for money. They're going
Right.
after him to do the crime. You know what I mean? I mean, I think they should go after him for money too. Hell, why not?
Right.
Take him down. But I don't even
Well,
think
if
that
he's as slimy as they say he is, he probably moved his money.
Yeah, he'll probably put it all his assets in his wife's name or something. But I mean, at this point, there's no reason for there's no money. There's no money in this, so
right.
Like, why else? All they want to do is just have him, be listed as a sex offender and pay for what he did, just to make sure nobody else gets hurt like they did, which is very brave of them.
Very brave.
That I stood there silently screaming in my head, this is a lie, as he's admitting to my mom what he said he did to me, all the way up until this point, just came out in writing at that moment.
What I find very interesting, Mel, and I don't know, you might have read it on your channel too, the About Me page of his history. He doesn't talk about any of his history that Steve Fisher pulled, the 39
Oh
short.
wow.
Do you
Yeah.
notice that?
Yeah, he didn't mention any of that. And I was looking at that
Nothing.
yesterday. It was a lot. It was a long. I'm gonna have to look it up again. History of like a. I'm gonna have to pull it up and see right now. Let's see. Yeah, long history. A lot of traffic infractions, reckless driving.
Did you see the weapons?
Let's see. Yeah, weapon use unlawful, DWS violation, attempt to elude police.
He dropped his CEO position and gave it to someone else a month ago. Wow.
Carry use dangerous weapon. Attempt to flee police, false swearing, menacing, pointing firearm at another. Yeah, these are all into like in the 90s.
None of that was written on his About Me page. It was like,
Mhm.
I did a 20-page essay with about a girl, you know, and trying to pick up girls that way. And it sounded like he married his high school sweetheart. Like, I'm just
Mhm.
wondering. And then he might have had a baby during this guy. It was like a love child type of, I hate to say it that way, but something to that effect where there is no communication. But where in that did he have time to fit all this background? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, no, he didn't mention none of that. And it was like a, I don't know, it was weird reading that article. It was like a, I don't know, promotional, like, it was just odd. It was just really odd. And just almost just like the emails that to me seemed very manipulative and like narc kind of just a bunch of BS. I mean, I don't know if you were actually ready, Hero, but like, how did you feel with his responses? Were you like infuriated? Because I was thinking like I'd be like upset because it just felt very manipulative, his response.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. For him to
That's
just
too
push it off
fast.
as I've forgiven
No.
myself, you
Yeah.
know, it's kind of up to you to do it.
Right.
You know, I'm going to name off everybody else in the family that's been through this. Why don't you go talk to them and figure out how to get over it? Because they did.
Yeah. I thought it was complete BS.
The worst, and it made me so sick to my stomach, is when he actually referred one of his previous victims for me to go speak to.
Like like you should speak to her because she's more along your age. Something to
I
that
can learn
effect.
how to forgive. I can
Yeah.
be more forgiving, and I can figure out how to forgive like she did.
Like a forgiveness coach. I was
Pretty
like,
much.
what the hell?
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Somebody said
Hey,
condescending.
Jessica. Oh, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
Hey, Jessica, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. I mean, we were right there when you were telling us everything that happened. We were just talking about Jared's background, and it sounds like very intense, but he doesn't talk about it in his About Me page. What happened in the 90s with this man?
What happened in the 90s with which man?
Jared.
Oh, everything. Almost every single type of criminal act that you can imagine. And a lot of times even though, I mean, it sounds sick and twisted, but if you look at it from a psychological standpoint, especially looking back at it now, it's understandable why I was always drawn to wanting his attention, wanting his approval. So I was, I was in the back seat or right next to him the whole time, committing a lot of these crimes.
Wow.
Jessica, I was wondering about that whole situation where he orders, I guess, food, and what was his like? What do you think his intentions was? Like, I guess hoping that you would show up, to curse you out.
I'm not sure what his intentions are. Allegedly, I think his intentions were to try to get me fired from my job so I wouldn't have money to go to Utah for this court case. I have been disabled for over 12 years now, and I ended up getting my last Social Security check actually last November. I ended up getting it, I believe, the first part of December because it was the November check. But and it's just because I was miraculously healed. That's a whole nother story itself, because I thought I was going to be disabled for life. All of a sudden, my medical situation got better, and I was able to go back to work. And after holding a job for an entire year, I finally gave up Social Security. Everybody told me not to do it, but I did it anyways. I'm a strong person. And I want to keep moving forward in any direction that I can. And so now, for a little while later, and I've now held my job for almost 2 years straight, and I get an order to deliver to a Jared, which I had delivered to his other home address a couple different times. It was very uncomfortable. And at the time, I would actually take a screenshot and I would send it to my kids and my best friend and say, "This is where I'm going to order at in case something happens." I flat out would do that. And so on this particular day, I got this order for a Jared L, but it was at a different address that was clear on the outskirts of town. It was not inside our regular city limits. And there's a lot of Jareds out there that I deliver to. And so, but because it had the last initial L, I did the screenshots again that day too. And I did send those to a friend of mine saying, and I believe to family as well, saying, "Hey, I don't know if this is Jared's new address or not, but on his end, he will see my first name. And as you can see, my first name is very unique. So there's no question that in a town of only 30,000 people, that it's his sister coming to his address with specific instructions saying, go through this gate, go down the driveway. I mean, there was very specific instructions of what I needed to do to get down there that I didn't say. I kind of summarized on my Facebook page, but as I was pulling up to the gate started actually closing to where I actually had to back up a tiny bit. I parked my van, to where looking back at it, I believe that he was probably intentionally trying to close the gate on my vehicle. You know, he knew that I was coming. That's why the gate was closing. That's why he was walking up the driveway and yelling and cussing at me, and wouldn't even take the order from me, to where I had to end up pulling over to the side of the road later. And I even tried to explain to him, you know, like, here he is yelling and cussing at me, and I'm trying to stay, you know, in a good work ethic mindset, trying to explain to him that had I have known that it was him, I would have unaccepted the order and they would have sent somebody else. That plain and simple. You know, he knew it was me coming. That is no question in my mind, especially because the gate was closing and him walking up the driveway screaming at me. So, and he would not take the food from me. I pulled over, I called my work and said, hey, this is what has just happened. You know, I just got yelled and screamed at and the F word used. And he also made a report against me, but he said it was the other way. I, you know, he still is.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Yeah, I want to ask her more. I'm
I
glad she's
know.
talking of it. Yeah.
Mel, I
I
hope she okay, Mama. I hope she connects with you, Mel, because I mean, it's a lot, you know, of information
It
to
is.
give
Yeah.
out. And I think that, you know, both of these women need a lot of support overall from everyone. I think it's just the bravery of it all is just so amazing of them. I don't know if she's able to come back or what to
Yeah,
do here.
because I was wondering too. Like, I was trying to like, was this his reaction? Like, I don't know
a tiny
when
bit,
he
Kate.
found out that Jessica was supporting.
What'd you say?
If you want to slow it down a tiny bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna put on 125.
Thank you.
Hero. And, like, I was just kind of curious. Like, maybe he had already found out about this stuff being filed to be charged, like, or I don't know when exactly that happened too. So I was wondering if it was retaliatory.
From her Facebook post.
Mm-hmm.
He's seen it on Facebook.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was very open about it, and many
Oh.
of the family contacted her about it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow. So here's my thing though. You know, oh, she just dropped down too, didn't she?
Mhm.
Okay. And I have a lot of questions as well for Jessica because I feel like she is the most vocal one right now, and she's not part of the case, correct?
Not directly at the moment.
Okay, but she could be subpoenaed. You know, they could make her a witness for
I
whatever reason, you know, or you know, to be helpful of that case. And I'm just trying to be mindful of what questions we can or can't ask because of that. I don't have any more questions. Mel, do you have any more questions for?
No, that I think that's it. I think I'm gonna try to do is maybe I'll talk with some people and we can come up with some questions. But again, I know it's a super sensitive matter, and this is it's going to trial. And
She's
yeah.
back.
Oh, she's back. Okay, let's see.
She's back. All right. Thank you, Tiny Dancer.
I have no idea what keeps happening.
I don't know, but you're back, which is what's more important at this point. Go ahead and let us know where you left off.
I have no idea where I left off because I don't know.
It was with regards to the whole delivery thing. I was kind of curious too. Do you think that was like retaliatory for your support of Hero? Like he was pissed off about that, or just maybe he was just upset with you in general?
I honestly do. This case was kind of up in the air for a while, and it sounds like the case started moving forward as soon as I got a hold of an investigator. And I tried to, before I even gave my story to an investigator, I tried to call both of my parents to ask them if they had heard about these, I don't want to call them allegations, but legally we have to right now.
Right.
And both of them, there are certain things about Jared that they 100% know that he has done that would be even more completely mind-blowing to you than the situation at hand right now that I won't discuss.
So would her mom and dad like, if he named them, like, I would imagine they would be able to subpoena them. I think the only person who wouldn't have to talk is his wife.
Right.
And I don't know if anything's different with like indicting someone, but I would think that I don't know if they'd be able to subpoena them for the indictment, but at least when it goes to trial, they would have to.
Brought up those situations to my parents and said, hey, do you remember when? And you know, throughout the situation, and both of them just kind of stuttered around and said, I don't remember that. Really? Because everybody's been talking about it for the last over 30 years now, or the last over 20 years now.
Oh, wow, that's my answer.
We're talking about. And then all of a sudden, just magically, because of these alleged allegations, they just automatically don't
That's so messed up.
Mm-hmm.
I think we lost her.
Everyone
Hopefully,
suddenly has
get
amnesia.
her maybe she can resolve the connection issue. I also just want to say too, thank you to because yesterday when I heard about this, Level-Headed reached out to me and he got his information from Lena Westbrook. So I just want to say thanks to the people that passed it along to me, and then I just I jumped on it. And the other thing I want to say too is that I had somebody that reached out to me on Facebook, and she had told me, she was a little bit offended when I said if this is true. And we had a nice conversation, and I explained, I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to legally cover myself because I know these people, they got a lot of money. They're not going to be afraid to sue or try to shut things down or get videos taken down and stuff like that. And so,
I think if a lot of people cover this and put this out there, that it will make it harder for them to legally do anything about it. Because I mean, how do you shut down?
I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. We know that, but we also know what we've seen.
Yeah. I mean, you have, like, everyone has to handle it in the way that he is still innocent and he's not convicted. But I do believe them, and I think, like I said, the more people that put it out there, then be better for everyone. Okay, let me play the rest.
I was talking to a few people to maybe learn better verbiage, but for now, I have to say allegedly, but I definitely don't mean any offense. And I believe these women for sure, and they have my support and everybody else that supports them.
Well, they're very litigious, right? Like,
they
have money and they're going to do what they have to do to protect themselves, right? So definitely, I appreciate you, Mel, for coming up, because number one, I don't think I expected any of this to go this way. I was ready to review. I was like, whoa, Hero, I am so happy that you came up. Do you have anything else for us? The biggest thing, my message to you, and I'm sure Mel expresses it the same way, be careful who you talk to and who you connect, because I honestly feel like, with AWP, Jared, and then being in this YouTube realm, it's very easy to be set up into something. And I don't want that to happen to you. And I know that, the district attorney is going to do what they're going to do, but to protect yourself, a defense attorney will go anywhere on the internet to protect their client and to defend their client. You know what I'm saying?
Understood.
So be very careful. You know what I'm saying? Just be careful. You have us to reach out to. We're here for you. If there's something you want to talk about or announce or whatever, I mean, clearly, Mel, shout out to you because you've been on it, and everybody else that is on the right side of this, if that makes sense.
Right.
But I just want you to be careful. Yeah.
I agree.
Awesome. I don't have any other questions. Jessica, if you can connect with Mel or connect with me, whichever, we can set up a time. That way, your connection is a little bit better. We'll figure something out, I mean, I don't know why I'm asking her.
I don't think they talk about anything else. They pretty much end it here, but she even talked about, I don't know if we went over the part or if I walked out when she talked about it, but the sister even talks about having to go deliver like food or something over there, and how nervous she was, and
what a nightmare. Yeah, that just played a second ago. What a nightmare, though.
Yeah,
I can't imagine pulling up to his house, and then he called the cops on her.
Yep.
The nerve.
Well, I'm glad they're speaking out about it, and
me too.
And now that it's public information, I think it's good to get the word out there and support them, and
I agree. Well, if you don't have anything else, we can die down if you want. I know it's 1:20 in the morning.
Yeah, I gotta hop down because I have to get I didn't even make his lunch or anything yet. So.
Oh gosh. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll end it. Thank you guys so much for coming and listening and rooting for these women. Hopefully they'll see the justice that they're seeking. Hopefully. But everybody have a great night. Kate, thank you so much for coming up and helping me with the stream. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
We will catch you guys later. Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.